Tonight, we'll explore the magical world of fungi, a quiet, living network beneath our feet, where mushrooms bloom like whispers and the forest listens through threads of light and decay. Before we begin this story, we'd like to welcome you to the Dreaming Mind, a space where the rush of the day gives way to calm reflection and quiet curiosity. Here, we explore beautiful stories of nature, the cosmos, and everything in between, always told with a sense of wonder for those gentle hours before sleep. If these tales bring you peace, we'd be grateful if you'd like and subscribe. It helps others discover this calm space we've created together. And please let us know in the comments what mysteries you'd love us to explore next. Often, the next tale begins with a question only you knew to ask. And now, with the world a little quieter, we begin. The forest is still tonight. The air is cool and soft, carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth and pine needles. A faint mist lingers among the trees, drifting like smoke between trunks that have stood here for centuries. Each step along the narrow trail sinks into moss, springy and damp, muffling the sound of your movement. It feels as though the forest itself is listening. You pause beside an ancient oak, its bark deeply grooved with age, its canopy lost somewhere in the darkness above. Your hand touches the rough surface, feeling the slow pulse of life within. But what you cannot see, what no eye can perceive in this dim light, is the true miracle happening just beneath your feet. There, in the darkness of the soil, something extraordinary stirs. Just below the surface lies a living network older than any tree around you, a sprawling lattice of fungal threads so fine they could slip through the eye of a needle, yet so vast they bind the entire forest together. These threads, called mycelium, weave silently through roots and stones, forming what scientists have come to call the wood wide web. Imagine, if you will, threading your way down through the soft earth, past earthworms and beetle larvae, past the familiar world of roots and rocks, into a realm that exists in perpetual twilight. Here, in this hidden universe, fungal threads stretch in every direction like glowing pathways in the dark. They are finer than spider silk, more delicate than human hair, yet they carry the conversations of the forest. Almost every tree here, from the towering cedar beside you to the smallest fern unfurling in the shadows, is part of this secret network. 80% of all land plants, in fact, share their lives with these fungal partners, trading what they have for what they need. It is an ancient commerce, older than flowers, older than the first creatures that crawled from the sea. The trees offer sugars, sweet treasures made from captured sunlight through their leaves. The fungi, in return, become the forest's miners and messengers, their threads reaching far beyond where any root could go, gathering water from distant springs, nitrogen from decomposing leaves, phosphorus locked away in stone. They bring these gifts back through their network, sharing them freely among their plant partners. But this web does more than trade nutrients. Recent discoveries have revealed something even more wondrous. The mycelium serves as an information highway, carrying chemical messages between trees. A Douglas fir under attack by insects can send warning signals through the fungal network, alerting neighboring trees to begin producing defensive compounds. A dying tree can transfer its resources to its offspring through these underground channels, like a parent's final gift. In this dim netherworld, the old trees, the ancient ones whose roots twist deep into the earth, act as central hubs. Scientists call them mother trees, and like wise elders in a village, they channel energy and information to the young seedlings struggling in their shadows. Through the fungal web, they share not just nutrients but knowledge, helping the next generation survive until they too can reach toward the Sunday. You stand now in a living library, where every tree is both reader and book, where stories are written in chemical whispers and shared through threads of light in the darkness. The forest breathes around you, not just with wind through leaves, but with the slow, steady pulse of information flowing just below. This network sprawls for miles in every direction. Some fungal webs connect entire groves, linking trees that stand hundreds of yards apart. Through these channels flows not just food and water, but something deeper, life itself, moving slowly, endlessly, like the patient breath of the earth. The mist drifts between the trees, and you realize you are standing atop one of nature's greatest achievements, a living internet that has been running for hundreds of millions of years, connecting, communicating, sharing, and surviving. In the quiet of this forest night, you can almost feel it humming just below, this vast web of fungal threads carrying their ancient conversations from tree to tree, root to root, life to life. Above ground, the trees stand as individuals, each reaching toward its own patch of sky. But below, in the hidden world of the mycelium, they are all connected, all part of something larger than themselves. The forest, you begin to understand, is not a collection of separate trees, but a single, living entity, bound together by fungal threads finer than thought, stronger than steel. You move deeper into the forest now, following a path that seems to glow faintly in the moonlight. The network beneath your feet pulses with invisible conversations, but ahead, something else catches your attention. There, between the moss-covered logs and fallen branches, tiny points of light begin to appear. Not the cold gleam of stars reflected in dewdrops, but something warmer, more alive. A soft, ethereal glow that seems to seep from the very wood itself. You kneel beside a rotting log, and the light becomes clearer. It is coming from within the wood, a ghostly green radiance that pulses gently like a slow heartbeat. This is foxfire, one of nature's oldest mysteries, and you have stumbled upon fungi that have learned to paint the darkness with their own light. The glow spreads across the surface of the decaying wood like captured starlight, bright enough, some observers say, to read by. But this is not fire, despite its name. It is something far more ancient and mysterious. The light comes from tiny fungal threads, mycelium that has colonized the dead wood, transforming decay into something luminous and beautiful. You trace the glow with your fingertips, feeling the soft, spongy texture of the rotting bark. Beneath your touch, millions of microscopic reactions are taking place. A substance called luciferin mingles with an enzyme, luciferase, in the presence of oxygen, creating this otherworldly light. It is the same chemistry that powers fireflies on summer evenings, but here it burns slow and steady, a cold flame that never consumes. Why do they glow? Scientists have discovered that these luminous fungi range from blue to green and yellow, depending on the species, and their light serves a purpose as elegant as it is mysterious. In the darkness of the forest floor, where wind cannot carry spores to new homes, the fungi have learned to become beacons. Picture this ancient dance unfolding around you in slow motion, A small beetle, drawn by instinct older than memory, alights on a glowing patch of foxfire. The light bathes its dark shell in ethereal green as it explores the luminous surface, unknowingly collecting thousands of microscopic spores on its legs, its antennae, the tiny hairs along its body. When it takes flight again, it carries with it an invisible cargo of potential, each spore a seed of light waiting for the right piece of deadwood to call home. Night after night, this ritual repeats across the forest. Moths flutter toward the glow like living shadows. Fungus gnats dance in spirals above the brightest patches, and countless other nocturnal wanderers are drawn to these natural lanterns. They arrive as visitors but depart as unwitting gardeners, their bodies dusted with the future, carrying light to logs that have never known illumination. Imagine following one of these tiny messengers as it travels through the darkness, over streams and through clearings, until it lands on a fallen branch miles away. There, as it cleans itself in the way insects do, it brushes away the spores it has carried. Some will find purchase in the bark, beginning their slow colonization, their patient transformation of dead wood into living light. In time, perhaps months or years later, that distant log will begin to glow, adding its voice to the forest's luminous choir. This silent choir sings through moisture-heavy air that catches and holds each gentle radiance, every surface glistening with dew that reflects the foxfire's glow, creating mirrors within mirrors. Light bouncing softly between droplets like whispered harmonies. The humidity weaves these scattered lights into something cathedral-like and otherworldly, an underwater cathedral where small, whitish, luminous fungi commonly grow on deadwood, particularly where the ground remains moist and sheltered from the wind. The air is thick with humidity, and every fallen branch, every decaying stump seems touched with this ethereal phosphorescence. Some glow steadily, others pulse like slow breathing, and a few flicker as if responding to your presence. The fox in foxfire may derive from the old French word faux, meaning false, for this is false fire indeed. A flame that gives light without heat, that burns without consuming. In centuries past, Scandinavian travelers would use oak bark imbued with foxfire to mark trails, creating glowing signposts that guided wanderers through the dark woods. You imagine those ancient travelers moving through forests lit by nothing but these natural lanterns, following trails marked by glowing bark. The fungi that create this light are not just decomposers but storytellers, writing their tales in luminescence across the forest floor. Each glowing log is a chapter, each patch of foxfire a verse in an epic poem written in light. As you move deeper into this glowing grove, you realize you are walking through one of Earth's most ancient light shows. These fungi have been illuminating the darkness for millions of years, long before the first human eyes opened to wonder at their glow. They are the forest's own aurora, painting the night with colors that exist nowhere else in nature. The light follows you now as you step carefully between the glowing logs. Some shine with the pale green of captured moonbeams, others with the warm yellow of distant stars. Together, they create a constellation at ground level, a galaxy of fungi spreading their gentle radiance through the eternal darkness of the forest floor. In this place where death becomes light, where decay transforms into beauty, you begin to understand another of the fungi's great secrets. They are not just the forest's internet, connecting tree to tree through underground networks. They are also its artists, its illuminators, painting masterpieces that few eyes will ever see, creating beauty for its own sake in the depths of the night. As you stand surrounded by this gentle phosphorescence, time itself begins to shift around you. The glowing logs blur and fade. The towering trees above seem to shrink and dissolve, and you find yourself drifting backward through the centuries, through millennia, through eons of Earth's deep history. The forest around you grows younger, simpler, stranger, until you arrive in a world so alien it might as well be another planet entirely. This is the Devonian period, 400 million years ago, and you stand on the shore of an ancient inland sea. The air is thick and humid, heavy with moisture and the strange chemistry of a world still learning how to breathe. There are no flowers here, no grass beneath your feet, no birds singing in the trees. Indeed, there are barely any trees at all, just scattered patches of primitive plants, no taller than your waist, struggling to claim their first tentative foothold on the raw, rocky earth. And yet, something towers above everything else in this primordial landscape, something so massive and strange that it defies every expectation of what life should look like. Rising from the marshy wetlands like ancient monuments, great cylindrical columns stretch toward the sky, some reaching 8 meters tall and 3 meters wide. They stand like pillars in a cathedral built by no architect you could name, their surfaces smooth and branchless, neither plant nor animal, but something else entirely. These are the prototaxites, and they are fungi, not the small mushrooms and delicate threads you know from your own time, but giants that dominated this young world when land plants stood barely knee-high, and the largest animals were primitive arthropods scuttling between the rocks. For over 70 million years, these massive fungal spires were the tallest living things on Earth, mysterious towers of life that scientists would puzzle over for more than a century after their fossils were first discovered. Imagine walking among them in this alien dawn, your footsteps squelching in the primordial mud. Each massive column is a single organism, built not from wood and leaves like the trees of your future, but from countless interwoven fungal threads, mycelial networks twisted together into structures of incredible strength and size. They stand like sentinels in the mist, witnesses to a world still writing the first chapters of its story on land. But these giant fungi were not merely observers of this ancient world. They were its architects, its pioneers, its patient gardeners. While the first primitive plants struggled to survive in soil that barely deserved the name, existing more as scattered mineral fragments than the rich, living earth, the fungi were already at work. Their vast networks of microscopic threads spread through the sparse landscape, breaking down rock, creating the first true soils, and most remarkably of all, forming partnerships with those struggling early plants. This was the beginning of one of Earth's greatest partnerships, a collaboration between fungi and plants that would reshape the entire planet. The fungi offered their services as underground supply networks, their thread-like hi-fi extending far beyond where any root could reach, gathering precious nutrients and water from the sparse environment. In return, The plants shared the sugars they captured from sunlight, feeding their fungal partners in an exchange that would become the foundation of nearly every terrestrial ecosystem to follow. Picture those first tentative alliances, played out in slow motion across millions of years. A struggling moss-like plant, barely clinging to life on a rocky outcrop, suddenly finds itself connected to a vast fungal network that can deliver water from distant sources, nitrogen from decomposing organic matter, phosphorus locked away in stone. With this support, it thrives, spreads, creates offspring. The fungi, nourished by the plant's photosynthetic bounty, grow stronger, reach further, connect more plants to their expanding web. This partnership, scientists now believe, was not just helpful to the colonization of land by plants, it was essential. Without their fungal allies, plants might never have been able to leave the safety of aquatic environments. The fungi were the bridge between water and land, the patient engineers who built the infrastructure that would allow green life to flourish on the continents. But these ancient architects possessed skills that extended far beyond simple partnership. In this primordial world, they were literally constructing the planet's first soils, grain by grain, from the bare rock that comprised most of the land surface. Their microscopic threads secreted powerful organic acids that could dissolve the hardest minerals, liberating phosphorus, nitrogen, and other essential nutrients that had been locked away in stone for eons. They were Earth's first miners, but instead of extracting wealth from the ground, they were creating the very foundation upon which all future terrestrial life would depend. Some of these fungal architects took collaboration to extraordinary levels, forming composite organisms with photosynthetic partners to create the world's first lichens. These pioneering communities combined fungal mineral acquisition with algal photosynthesis, becoming living laboratories that could colonize bare rock surfaces and slowly transform them into habitable substrate. Their patient work of dissolving stone and accumulating organic matter created the first patches of what we might recognize as soil, tiny islands of life-supporting material scattered across an otherwise sterile landscape. The diversity of these ancient builders was remarkable, even by today's standards. While the massive prototaxites dominated the visible horizon, the real construction work was being carried out by countless microscopic specialists. Some developed sophisticated spore-forming systems that could survive the harsh conditions of early terrestrial environments. Others created intricate branching networks that could transport nutrients across vast distances, connecting scattered plant communities through underground fungal highways that spanned kilometers of otherwise barren terrain. Most remarkably, these organisms seem to possess an almost prophetic understanding of what terrestrial ecosystems would eventually need. They built soil systems capable of supporting the great forests that wouldn't evolve for tens of millions of years. They established nutrient cycling processes that would prove essential for complex plant communities. They created the biological infrastructure for biodiversity levels that wouldn't be achieved until long after their own time had passed. The atmosphere itself bore witness to their transformative work. Through their partnerships with early plants and their own metabolic processes, these fungal architects helped alter the very chemistry of the air and water around them. Their activities contributed to major changes in carbon dioxide levels, creating more stable climate conditions that would prove essential for the eventual diversification of terrestrial life. As you stand in this ancient landscape, observing these patient builders at work across millions of years, you begin to understand that you are witnessing something far more profound than simple survival or adaptation. These organisms were engaging in an act of planetary creation, using their collaborative genius and biochemical innovations to literally construct the living world that would eventually support countless generations of plants, animals, and fungi yet to evolve. Let us take a look now at the extraordinary world these organisms inherited and the impossible conditions in which they chose to build their living foundations for the future. The very air around you in this Devonian landscape would be toxic to most contemporary life forms. Carbon dioxide levels hover around 2,000 parts per million, nearly 7 times higher than your own era, creating a greenhouse effect so intense that even the polar regions bask in tropical heat. The atmosphere itself is a dense, humid blanket that transforms every surface into a shimmering mirage of moisture and warmth. Yet the fungi thrive in these extreme conditions, their biochemistry perfectly adapted to an alien chemistry that would challenge even the most resilient modern organisms. They have evolved melanin-rich cell walls that protect them from the intense ultraviolet radiation pouring through an atmosphere with little ozone protection. Their enzyme systems operate efficiently in the crushing heat and oppressive humidity, breaking down minerals and organic compounds with a precision that modern biochemists can barely comprehend. Watch how they navigate this chemical labyrinth with seeming ease. The crushing atmospheric pressure and exotic gas mixtures that would overwhelm most life forms become opportunities for these ancient innovators. They develop specialized metabolic pathways that not only tolerate but actually exploit the extreme CO2 concentrations, using the abundant carbon as building material for increasingly complex organic structures. Most remarkably, as they work and grow and reproduce in this greenhouse world, they are simultaneously transforming it. Their partnerships with early plants begin to draw down some of that excess carbon dioxide, storing it in newly formed soils and organic matter. Their weathering activities alter the chemistry of surface rocks, changing the mineral composition of the emerging landscape. Their very presence begins to moderate the extreme conditions, creating more stable microclimates that will eventually support greater diversity of life. These fungal alchemists are literally breathing new chemistry into the world, exhaling compounds and creating conditions that inch the planet, degree by degree and molecule by molecule, toward the more hospitable environment that will one day support complex ecosystems. They are the quiet agents of atmospheric change, working with geological patience to transform an alien world into something approaching the Earth as you know today. Time begins to move around you like a slow river, carrying you forward through the countless centuries that separate this ancient world from your own. The towering prototaxites blur and fade like mirages dissolving in morning light, their massive forms becoming translucent, then transparent, then gone entirely. The alien atmosphere grows lighter, the crushing humidity lifts, and the fierce greenhouse heat gradually cools to something more familiar. Eons flow past in moments. You watch mountains rise and erode, seas advance and retreat. Ice ages come and go like the slow breathing of a sleeping planet. The sparse Devonian landscape fills with green as plants grow taller, more complex, more diverse. Flowers appear for the first time, their colors brilliant against the evolving sky. Trees stretch toward the heavens, their canopies weaving together into the forests you recognize. The very air around you changes, becoming cleaner, richer with oxygen, easier to breathe. Stars wheel overhead in accelerated dance as the earth spins through seasons that compress into heartbeats. You feel yourself carried along this river of time like a leaf on its surface, watching the patient work of millions of years unfold in the space between one breath and the next. Gradually, the flow slows. The modern world begins to solidify around you. You find yourself once again in the familiar darkness of the forest night, surrounded by trees whose ancestors you have just witnessed being born. The mist that drifts between the trunks carries scents both ancient and immediate. The green smell of living leaves, the sweet decay of fallen wood, the rich earthiness of soil that has been centuries in the making. Your feet touch ground that feels different now, deeper somehow, layered with the accumulated wisdom of ages. Each step sinks slightly into the soft forest floor, a carpet woven from countless generations of fallen leaves, decomposing logs, and the patient work of organisms you now know have been at this task since before the first tree cast its shadow on the earth. The sounds of this modern forest speak to you differently now. The gentle creak of wood settling, the whisper of wind through branches, the soft patter of moisture dripping from leaf to leaf, all seem like echoes of the ancient processes you have witnessed. But there is something new in these sounds, something you had not noticed before, the subtle symphony of decay and renewal, the quiet music of things returning to the earth from which they came. You breathe deeply, and the air carries more than just the scent of pine and moss. There is something richer here, more complex, the smell of deep soil and patient transformation. It is the aroma of fungi at work, though you cannot see them yet, breaking down the forest's offerings and weaving them back into the living tapestry of the woods. Your hand reaches out to steady yourself against what feels like the trunk of a tree, but your fingers encounter something different. The surface is soft, yielding, covered in moss that cushions your touch like velvet. This is not a living tree but a fallen giant, a massive log that has become something else entirely, a garden for countless small lives, a library of nutrients waiting to be read and redistributed by the forest's patient librarians. Beneath your touch, this fallen giant tells a story of patient transformation. What was once a towering tree, reaching towards sunlight and standing for perhaps centuries, has become something entirely different, yet equally vital. The bark is soft now, its surface textured with patches of moss and tiny mushrooms, giving way under gentle pressure to reveal the pale mycelium beneath. This is decomposition in action, but not the violent destruction you might imagine. This is transformation, elegant and essential, as fungi slowly return the tree to the earth from which it came. The ancient giants are gone, replaced by the towering trees, but the partnership endures. All around you, in every handful of soil, the great work continues, and you begin to understand another of the fungi's most profound roles. They are the earth's patient recyclers, the quiet architects of renewal. The wood is soft now, its surface textured with patches of moss and tiny mushrooms, the bark peeling away to reveal the pale mycelium beneath. Countless fungal threads have colonized the dead wood, their enzymes working tirelessly to break down the complex lignin and cellulose that once gave the branch its strength. This is patient work, requiring months or years, but it is work that sustains the entire forest. Watch closely as this process unfolds in your imagination. The fungi release a cocktail of powerful enzymes, molecular scissors that can cut through some of nature's most stubborn chemical bonds. Lignin, the tough polymer that gives wood its structure, begins to yield to their persistent chemistry. Cellulose fibers, woven tight as steel cables in living wood, slowly unravel and dissolve. What was once solid becomes liquid, what was rigid becomes soluble, and nutrients that were locked away in dead tissue are freed to nourish new life. But this is only the beginning of the story. As the fungi break down the branch, they are also building something new, creating humus, the dark, rich substance that is the heart of healthy soil. This humus is not simply decomposed organic matter. It is a complex mixture of partially decomposed plant material, fungal tissues, and the waste products of countless soil organisms, all bound together in a matrix that can hold water, nutrients, and carbon for decades or even centuries. Picture the chemistry happening in microscopic detail around that rotting branch. Soil microorganisms serve as the key driving forces behind organic matter formation and decomposition, and fungi are considered to be more adept at decomposition than bacteria, specializing in breaking down the tough, woody materials that bacteria cannot handle. As they work, they create a living repository of stored carbon, pulling CO2 from the atmosphere and locking it away in soil organic matter that may persist for generations. This process is happening everywhere around you. Every fallen leaf, every dead root, every fragment of bark is being slowly, methodically transformed by fungal workers. The decomposition processes of dead wood are associated with a 55% increase in soil organic carbon deposition and a 36% increase in total nitrogen content compared to soils without decaying wood. The fungi are not just cleaning up the forest, they are feeding it, enriching it, building the very foundation upon which all terrestrial life depends. Stepping closer to this fallen log, you discover the hidden society at work within its decaying heart. Here lives a secret guild of specialists, each with their own mysterious methods of transformation. The white rot fungi arrive first, wielding the only enzymes on Earth capable of completely dismantling lignin, creating free radicals that unlock wood's most stubborn molecular secrets. Their cousins, the brown rot fungi, take a different approach entirely, leaving the lignin untouched while systematically harvesting every sugar molecule, creating that characteristic crumbling wood that splits into perfect geometric cubes. As you lean down to examine the surface more closely, the evidence of their patient succession becomes clear. Fast-growing pioneer fungi arrived within weeks of this tree's fall, working as nature's emergency responders to begin the great transformation. 18 months later, peak diversity bloomed as dozens of species competed and collaborated in an intricate dance of renewal. Now, years into the process, the master craftsmen have arrived, specialized fungi that handle the most challenging materials with biochemical artistry that human chemists can barely comprehend. Your gentle pressure against the softened bark reveals the living architecture beneath. An underground internet pulses with activity as these decomposer fungi generate electrical signals with vocabularies of up to 50 distinct chemical words, coordinating their work across vast distances through a network more sophisticated than any technology. They whisper to each other through atmospheric gases and root chemicals, operating a biochemical communication system that spans the entire forest floor. The fallen log itself has become a living city of partnerships. Bacteria form protective films on fungal threads, while fungi provide highways for bacterial movement. Helper species enhance each other's work through tripartite alliances that would make any diplomat envious. Chemical negotiations take place in microscopic boardrooms where resources are shared, territories are defined, and the great work of renewal proceeds with a cooperation that spans kingdoms of life. Even the timing of their work follows an ancient wisdom you can sense but not quite grasp. Each species knows its season, its moment, its perfect conditions for maximum transformation. Some prefer the cool dampness of February nights. Others, the warm abundance of summer afternoons. Spore release follows circadian rhythms optimized for atmospheric transport, with delicate propagules launching during calm darkness, while hardy survivors wait for turbulent days that will carry them to distant territories. This is not random decay but orchestrated renewal, a process so elegant and essential that forests around the world depend on it for their very survival. The fungi working within this log are not merely decomposers but master recyclers, chemical engineers, and ecosystem coordinators whose work will continue long after the last trace of bark has returned to the soil from which new life will spring. This is not random decay but orchestrated renewal, a process so elegant and essential that forests around the world depend on it for their very survival. The fungi working within this log are not merely decomposers but master recyclers, chemical engineers, and ecosystem coordinators whose work will continue long after the last trace of bark has returned to the soil from which new life will spring. Yet, in the deeper shadows of the forest, where nutrient streams grow thin and competition becomes fierce, some of these patient decomposers reveal another face entirely. Here, where the fallen log meets the rich earth beneath, lives a secret guild of shapeshifters whose gentle recycling work masks a more dramatic transformation. When times grow lean, these fungi abandon their quiet decomposition and become something altogether more startling. Hunters in the microscopic realm. You cannot see them with the naked eye, but beneath your fingertips, among the soft threads breaking down the log's heart, lives Arthrobatry's oligospora, a fungus that dwells in two worlds. It is the perfect citizen of decay, patiently dismantling dead leaves and fallen wood with the same gentle chemistry as its neighbors. But when nutrients grow scarce, when the feast of decomposition cannot sustain its growing networks, it performs one of nature's most remarkable metamorphoses. The transformation begins in response to hunger, triggered by chemicals released from the tiny roundworms, the nematodes, that swim through the film of water coating every surface in this moist underworld. These microscopic creatures, no larger than the width of a human hair, move through their liquid highways unaware that they are being watched by something that should, by all rights, be harmless. The fungus begins to reshape itself, its ordinary branching threads suddenly sprouting circular loops, perfect rings of living tissue that seem almost too geometric to be natural. These are not random growths, but precision instruments, organic snares crafted with an engineer's attention to detail. Each ring is exactly the right diameter to allow a nematode to swim through, but the moment one enters, the trap springs with lightning speed. Picture this drama unfolding in extreme slow motion, though in reality, it happens faster than a human eye could follow. A nematode, following chemical signals it believes will lead to food, swims confidently into one of these innocent-looking rings. The moment its body passes the threshold, specialized cells in the ring wall detect the gentle pressure and respond with explosive force. The ring swells instantly, tripling in size in less than 1/10 of a second, tightening around the nematode's body like a biological noose. But this is not merely mechanical capture. As the ring constricts, it becomes a living injection system. The fungus pumps toxins and enzymes directly into its trapped prey, substances that paralyze the nematode and begin the process of digestion while it still lives. What was moments before a peaceful decomposer has become something from a microscopic nightmare, a predator whose hunting strategy combines chemistry, physics, and architecture in ways that seem almost too sophisticated to be real. The captured nematode's struggle is brief. Within minutes, the hunter's chemicals have done their work, and the fungus begins to consume its prey from the inside out, extracting proteins and fats that will fuel new growth, new traps, new hunts. This is supplemental feeding at its most dramatic, where the gentle recycler of dead organic matter reveals itself capable of active predation when circumstances demand it. Even more remarkable is the fungus Pleurotus austriatus, the humble oyster mushroom that grows in peaceful clusters on dead trees throughout these woods. To most observers, it appears to be the perfect emblem of gentle decomposition, quietly processing dead wood with patience and grace. When tiny springtails, beetles, or other small creatures venture too close to its growing surface, the oyster mushroom releases clouds of chemical weapons, paralytic compounds that can immobilize prey within minutes. These are not accidental toxins, but precision-crafted biological warfare agents, molecules designed specifically to shut down the nervous systems of small animals. The mushroom then slowly digests its paralyzed victims, adding their proteins to its diet of decomposing cellulose. This revelation transforms your understanding of the forest floor around you. Every mushroom cluster, every patch of spreading mycelium, every innocent-looking toadstool might be not just a recycler of the dead, but a potential predator of the living. The boundary between decomposer and hunter, between death and life, between gentle recycling and active predation, proves to be far more fluid than the neat categories of textbooks would suggest. As you kneel beside the rotting log, running your fingers along its soft, yielding surface, you realize you are touching not just a community of decomposers, but a hidden society of shapeshifters, organisms that have mastered the art of living multiple lives simultaneously. They are both the forest's undertakers and its executioners, both patient recyclers and swift predators, both gentle gardeners and ruthless hunters. This duality speaks to something profound about the nature of transformation itself. In the fungal world, change is not a gradual process, but a dramatic reinvention, a complete reshaping of identity in response to opportunity and need. The same threads that spend months slowly dissolving dead wood can, within hours, reorganize themselves into sophisticated killing machines. The same biochemistry that gently breaks down cellulose can suddenly switch to producing paralytic toxins that would disable creatures thousands of times larger than the fungal cells that create them. In this hidden drama of the forest floor, you glimpse one of life's most fundamental truths: that survival often requires the ability to become something entirely different from what you were, to transform not just your behavior, but your very essence in response to a world that is constantly changing around you. The fungi beneath your hands are master teachers of this lesson, showing that the greatest recyclers are also the most adaptable predators, and that in nature's economy, the line between life and death, creation and destruction, nurturing and hunting, is always shifting like shadows in the forest light. In this hidden drama of the forest floor, you have witnessed fungi as both creators and destroyers, gentle gardeners and ruthless hunters. But as you rise from beside the fallen log, brushing the soft decay from your fingertips, the forest around you begins to shift and blur, the ancient trees fading like memories dissolving into mist. You find yourself carried not through space this time, but through the invisible currents of consequence, following the threads that connect the patient decomposition beneath your feet to challenges no forest fungus was ever meant to face. The world materializes around you in fragments, sharp-edged and unforgiving. Gone are the gentle curves of moss-covered bark and the soft whispers of wind through leaves. Here, synthetic surfaces gleam under harsh fluorescent lights, and the air carries the chemical tang of laboratories and industrial processes. This is a place where molecules follow patterns unknown to nature, where human ingenuity has created substances that should not exist, compounds so alien that no living thing should be able to comprehend their structure, much less consume them. Yet fungi, those master shapeshifters, those ancient alchemists of transformation, have found their way even here. You stand now in a laboratory in Ecuador, where a scientist examines what appears to be an ordinary specimen collected from rotting wood in the Amazon basin. The fungus before you looks unremarkable, its threads pale and delicate, its growth slow and methodical. It has been given an equally unremarkable name, Pestaloteuopsis microspora. But this quiet organism harbors a secret that will redefine the very meaning of biological possibility. Watch as the researcher places before this humble fungus something that should destroy it: polyurethane plastic, the synthetic polymer that fills our world in foam cushions, shoe soles, and countless industrial applications. A molecule so foreign to natural chemistry that it should be toxic, indigestible, impossible for any living thing to process. This plastic has resisted every force that nature could bring to bear upon it, remaining unchanged for decades, perhaps centuries, in the environments where human hands have abandoned it. But Pestaloteuopsis microspora regards this chemical stranger and recognizes something else entirely: opportunity. Within hours, something extraordinary begins to unfold. The fungus sends out exploratory threads that touch the plastic surface with the delicate precision of a pianist testing keys. Chemical receptors probe the polymer's structure, mapping the alien architecture of its molecular bonds. These threads secrete enzymes unlike any the natural world has seen before, proteins that have learned to recognize synthetic patterns to find purchase on surfaces that evolution never prepared them to encounter. The transformation that follows occurs at the very boundary between the possible and the magical. Using an enzyme called serine hydrolase, the fungus begins to sever the molecular bonds that hold the polymer together. One by one, the chemical chains that industrial processes forged in furnaces and pressure chambers surrender to the patient work of biological scissors. The plastic doesn't simply break down. It is systematically dismantled, its alien structure translated back into the familiar language of carbon and hydrogen that life can understand. Electron microscopes reveal the breathtaking artistry of this process. The smooth, pristine surface of the plastic becomes a lunar landscape of craters and channels as fungal enzymes carve their patient pathways through synthetic terrain. What once gleamed with industrial perfection is transformed into a terrain that speaks of life's inexorable power to reshape even the most foreign materials into forms it can embrace. But this discovery in the Amazon rainforest is only the beginning of a story that spans the globe. As you drift through this realm of scientific revelation, you encounter laboratories and research stations where other fungi are performing similar miracles of transformation. Aspergillus terreus, a common soil fungus, demonstrates its newfound ability to consume polypropylene, the plastic used in everything from bottle caps to car parts. In just 140 days, it can achieve complete breakdown of materials designed to last forever. Another revelation unfolds before you, Aspergillus tubingensis, showing an appetite for polyurethane that rivals its Amazonian cousin. But perhaps most remarkably, you witness fungi that have learned these abilities not over millions of years of evolution, but in real time, adapting to consume humanity's synthetic creations faster than we can produce them. Marine fungi collected from ocean garbage patches increase their plastic consumption rates by 15% in just 3 months. Evolution happening before our eyes, rather than across geological ages. Picture this microscopic drama playing out across the planet. A fungal spore, carried by wind or water, lands on a discarded plastic bottle abandoned in some remote corner of the world. The spore germinates, sending out threads finer than spider silk that begin their patient exploration of this alien terrain. Chemical sensors map the polymer's structure with a precision that would humble any human engineer, testing bonds, analyzing weaknesses, preparing for the work of transformation. The fungus deploys an arsenal of molecular tools that reads like a catalogue of biological weaponry. Lacases create cascades of oxidation that weaken the polymer's defenses. Cutinases perform surgical strikes on specific molecular bonds. Manganese peroxidases slash through chemical structures using hydrogen peroxide as ammunition, while specialized proteins facilitate enzyme attachment to hydrophobic surfaces like microscopic grappling hooks, finding purchase on seemingly impossible terrain. What happens next transcends the boundary between chemistry and artistry. Molecules that required petroleum millions of years to form, that industrial furnaces shaped into seemingly permanent chains, begin to surrender to forces they were never designed to resist. Bond by bond, the plastic unravels. Carbon atoms locked in synthetic patterns find themselves liberated, return to the ancient cycles they recognize, transformed once again into the simple building blocks from which all life constructs its endless variations. Yet the fungi's abilities extend far beyond plastic. As your vision expands, you witness scenes that challenge every assumption about biological limits. In the ruins of Chernobyl, black fungi feed on radiation itself, growing faster in the presence of gamma rays that would kill any other form of life. These remarkable organisms practice radiosynthesis, converting deadly radiation into chemical energy with the same elegant efficiency that plants convert sunlight into sugar. The scope of fungal transformation encompasses every category of human pollution. Oil-eating fungi in Ecuador's Amazon convert decades of petroleum contamination into clean, sweet-smelling earth. Marine species create living booms that absorb fuel spills from the surface of the ocean. Industrial chemicals that resist every other form of biological treatment succumb to fungal enzymes that seem to reshape the very laws of chemistry to accomplish what should be impossible. Now you witness Pleurotus austriatus, the humble oyster mushroom you might find on your dinner plate, demonstrating extraordinary tolerance for heavy metals, accumulating zinc, lead, cadmium, and chromium while continuing to thrive. Industrial compounds that persist for decades in the environment surrender to fungal patience, their toxic structures systematically dismantled and rebuilt into harmless components that can rejoin the cycles of life. The visual evidence of this transformation is breathtaking in its artistry. Surfaces that began smooth and gleaming become weathered terrain marked by the patient work of biological renovation. Crater-like pitting, elaborate etching patterns, and hyphal networks that penetrate synthetic materials like roots boring through stone create landscapes that speak of life's ultimate victory over even the most alien creations of human industry. This process carries a name that seems too clinical for its profound implications: mycoremediation. But perhaps no word could adequately capture what you are witnessing. This is nature's answer to problems we believed we had created beyond her power to solve. These fungi have become more than decomposers, more than recyclers. They are healers working to repair damage that spans decades, cleaning wounds in the earth that we inflicted without understanding their permanence. As you observe this patient work of biological alchemy, you begin to understand that you are witnessing something unprecedented in the history of life on Earth. These organisms are not simply adapting to survive in a polluted world. They are actively evolving to consume our waste, to transform our mistakes into opportunities for renewal. They represent life's most elegant response to the challenge of human civilization. Not resistance, but transformation. Not rejection, but embrace and redemption. The implications ripple outward like waves from a stone dropped in still water. If fungi can learn to digest plastic in real time, to feed on radiation, to transform industrial chemicals into harmless compounds, then perhaps no human impact is truly permanent. Perhaps every mistake carries within it the seeds of its own correction, waiting only for life's patient creativity to discover the keys to transformation. In this realm, where the impossible becomes routine, where organisms reshape themselves to meet challenges they never faced before, you glimpse one of life's most profound truths. that adaptation is not just about survival, but about the endless capacity to find opportunity in crisis, to transform poison into nourishment, to turn humanity's greatest failures into nature's most elegant triumphs. But these discoveries, remarkable as they are, might have remained curiosities confined to laboratory benches and scientific papers were it not for visionaries who recognized their transformative potential. As your journey through this world of biological alchemy continues, you find yourself witnessing the emergence of something unprecedented, the industrialization of fungal magic, the scaling of microscopic miracles to address humanity's greatest waste challenges. You stand now in the facilities of mycocycle, where what once required the patient months of forest floor decomposition has been accelerated into controlled biological processes. Here, fungi work not in the random encounters of spore and substrate, but in carefully orchestrated symphonies of remediation. Mountains of construction debris, plastic waste, and even discarded face masks disappear into fungal bioreactors like offerings to ancient gods of transformation. The scale is breathtaking. This single company targets processing 1.5 million tons of waste in the next 5 years, turning the patient work you witnessed in the forest into an industrial force capable of reshaping humanity's relationship with its own detritus. Face masks that once symbolized our vulnerability to global pandemic are colonized completely by fungal threads in just 2 weeks, transformed from medical waste into harmless organic compounds that can nourish new growth. The visual spectacle defies every assumption about industrial processes. Where traditional recycling facilities roar with machinery and burn with furnaces, these biological factories hum with the quiet patience of life itself. Vast chambers filled with what appears to be ordinary compost pulse with invisible activity as billions of fungal threads perform their molecular surgery on humanity's discarded materials. Temperature and humidity are controlled not for mechanical efficiency, but to optimize the comfort of living workers whose tools are enzymes and whose products are the building blocks of renewed ecosystems. Your attention shifts to high-row technologies, where the recognition of this fungal revolution has earned the 2024 Hygienics Innovation Award. The most intimate waste of human life, baby diapers, becomes the raw material for biological transformation. The elegance of the solution borders on poetry. Fungi consume the very waste that contains them, using the organic matter within diapers as fertilizer for their own growth. It is a completely circular system where waste becomes fuel for its own destruction, where the problem contains its own solution waiting to be unlocked by biological ingenuity. Watch as research technicians demonstrate this process. A soil diaper, typically destined for centuries of persistence in landfills, is introduced to specially selected fungal strains. Within days, the synthetic components begin to surrender to enzymatic attack, while the organic matter nourishes the organisms performing the transformation. What emerges is not waste, but the raw materials for new biological processes, a demonstration that even the most challenging human waste streams can be reimagined as resources rather than burdens. The applications multiply like spores on favorable winds. In Texas, researchers have developed systems where fungi transform agricultural waste into building materials stronger than traditional concrete. In the Netherlands, floating fungal platforms cruise urban waterways, consuming plastic debris while producing biomass for sustainable manufacturing. In Australia, mine tailings that poisoned landscapes for decades surrender their toxic burden to fungal partnerships that extract heavy metals while establishing the foundation for ecosystem recovery. The economics tell a story as compelling as the biology. Fungal remediation operates at 5 to 60% of the cost of conventional cleanup methods, requiring no external energy input for passive systems and eliminating expensive excavation processes. But more remarkably, these biological systems improve with time rather than degrading, evolving to become more efficient as they encounter new challenges, learning to process waste streams they have never seen before. You witness the transformation of entire landscapes through these commercial applications. Highway contamination sites where decades of automotive pollution seemed permanently embedded in soil become test beds for fungal restoration. Within 16 weeks, petroleum hydrocarbon levels drop from toxic concentrations to levels safe for landscaping. With 95 to 98% degradation efficiency that allows poisoned earth to become gardens once again. The most profound realization emerges as you observe these facilities in operation. This is not simply waste processing, but ecological healing at industrial scale. Each bioreactor, each fungal cultivation chamber, each processing facility represents a partnership between human engineering and biological intelligence. A collaboration that amplifies the ancient patience of forest floor decomposition into a force capable of addressing humanity's environmental debt. In urban environments, rooftop fungal farms process the waste streams of entire city blocks, their mushroom-fruiting bodies emerging like living monuments to transformation, while their hidden mycelial networks below consume the detritus of modern life. The circular elegance becomes apparent. Waste feeds fungi. Fungi produce food and materials. Processing residues nourish soil that grows plants that feed communities, that generate waste, that feeds fungi in an endless cycle of renewal. The speed of implementation reflects the urgency of environmental crisis, meeting the power of biological solution. Projects that began as laboratory experiments in 2020 are processing tons of waste by 2025, with commercial facilities scaling from pilot programs to industrial operations in timeframes that would be impossible for conventional technologies. The fungi themselves accelerate this process, evolving and optimizing their performance faster than human engineers can design improvements. Perhaps these commercial applications retain the essential character of fungal intelligence: patience combined with relentless efficacy, gentleness that achieves what force cannot, transformation that creates value from apparent worthlessness. The industrial facilities hum with the same quiet confidence you observed in the forest, the same inexorable determination to turn endings into beginnings, death into life, problems into opportunities. As you witness these expanding applications, the implications crystallize. Humanity has discovered partners capable of consuming its mistakes and transforming them into foundations for renewal. The ancient decomposers of the forest floor have become the architects of a new relationship between civilization and waste, where nothing need be permanently discarded because everything can be transformed by patient biological intelligence. This is mycelium at scale, but it is also something more profound: the industrialization of hope, the commercialization of renewal, the transformation of environmental crisis into economic opportunity through partnership with organisms that have spent millions of years perfecting the art of turning death into life. But these commercial triumphs of transformation, remarkable as they are, represent only fungi's most visible talents. There are darker arts practiced in shadow, older magics that predate industry by millions of years. Leave now the sterile hum of bioreactors and processing facilities. Travel south through jungles where moisture clings to every surface like a living thing, where the very air seems to pulse with hidden intelligence. Here, in the perpetual twilight of the Amazon understory, something unthinkable unfolds daily. You kneel beside a fallen log, its surface alive with the ordinary decomposition you have come to expect. But your attention catches on something that shouldn't be there: an ant, motionless, gripping a leaf stem with mandibles locked in what can only be described as a death grip. Look closer. The ant's head has split open like a flower blooming in reverse. From the crack, a slender stalk emerges, pale and deliberate, reaching toward filtered sunlight with the precision of a surgeon's blade. This is no random growth. This is architecture. At the stalk's tip, a bulbous capsule swells with contained potential, pregnant with thousands of microscopic seeds of influence. This carpenter ant died exactly where something else wanted it to die. 3 weeks ago, this same ant was foraging along her familiar trails, connected to her colony by invisible threads of chemical communication. Her world made perfect sense. She followed scent highways, laid down by her sisters, gathered food, tended larvae, lived the ordered life of social insects everywhere. Then came the moment that rewrote her entire existence. A spore, smaller than dust, drifting on air currents too subtle to feel, it settled onto her exoskeleton while she groomed herself after morning rain. The contact lasted microseconds. The consequences would consume the rest of her life. Watch now as we trace this infection backward through time. Follow the invisible threads of manipulation that transformed a free creature into a willing puppet. The spore doesn't force entry. It whispers its way through molecular locks, secreting enzymes so precisely calibrated they bypass every defense the ant evolved over millions of years. No immune response, no inflammation, no warning that anything has changed. Within hours, something alien begins threading through the ant's tissues. Fungal hyphae, finer than spider silk, weave between muscle fibers and nerve clusters. But this is not random colonization. Each thread grows with purpose, seeking specific targets in the ant's neural architecture. The fungus, Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, has spent 48 million years learning to speak in the electrical language of insect minds. The takeover happens gradually, imperceptibly. Day 1, the ant behaves normally. Her sisters notice nothing wrong. Day 3, she hesitates fractionally longer at trail junctions, as if listening to voices only she can hear. Day 7, her grooming becomes more methodical, more frequent. The fungus needs its host body maintained in perfect condition. Day 10, She begins wandering from established paths, drawn by chemical compulsions she cannot name or resist. By day 14, she is no longer entirely herself. The fungus has become a master conductor, orchestrating her movements with biochemical precision that makes human psychology seem crude by comparison. It preserves exactly the motor functions it needs while hijacking exactly the behavioral systems it must control. The ant continues to clean herself obsessively, keeping the body that houses her parasite in pristine condition. She avoids the dangerous heights of the canopy and the risky depths of the soil, staying always in that narrow band, 20 to 30 centimeters above ground, where her passenger has the best chance of reproductive success. But she no longer belongs to her colony. Her sisters smell the change in her chemical signature, the subtle wrongness that ancient instincts recognize as contamination. They avoid her now, following trails that curve away from infection. The ant continues alone, guided by a will that is no longer her own. The fungus seeks conditions that exist in a razor-thin margin of possibility. Humidity must hover between 94 and 95%. Temperature must remain stable between 20 and 23 degrees Celsius. Air currents must be gentle enough to prevent spore dispersal during the crucial maturation period. This is precision beyond anything human technology has achieved. Through mechanisms that scientists are only beginning to decode, the fungus guides its mobile sensor through the forest maze, testing microclimates with the patience of evolution itself. Too humid, and the spores will rot. Too dry, and they will desiccate. Too high, and wind will scatter them uselessly. Too low, and they will fall on barren ground. The ant climbs with dreamlike determination toward her appointment with destiny. At last, she reaches the perfect leaf, the perfect height, the perfect angle to catch morning light while avoiding afternoon heat. Here, on the north side of a cecropia tree, conditions align with mathematical precision. What happens next defies every assumption about biological control. The ant positions herself with surgical accuracy above the main trail her sisters use daily. She extends her mandibles and bites down on the leaf's central vein, not with the random desperation of a dying creature, but with the calculated force of an engineer placing the final component in a precision machine. Her jaws lock with strength that will outlast death itself. The fungus has manipulated every aspect of this moment. The bite penetrates exactly deep enough to tap into the leaf's nutrient flow, ensuring the host body remains anchored through wind and rain. The position maximizes spore dispersal range over the most heavily trafficked ant highways. Even the timing follows circadian rhythms optimized for atmospheric conditions. This is the death grip, and it represents the culmination of one of evolution's most sophisticated manipulation programs. Within hours, the ant's consciousness fades, but her body remains exactly where the fungus needs it. Rigor mortis will only strengthen that grip, fusing her to her final perch with unbreakable determination. She has become a biological missile launcher, positioned for maximum impact on her unsuspecting sisters below. Inside her cooling corpse, the fungus consolidates its victory. For weeks, it grows and prepares, transforming the ant's body into a specialized reproductive factory. The stalk that erupts from her skull is no random growth but a precisely engineered spore cannon, angled for optimal dispersal, timed for perfect atmospheric conditions. When the moment arrives, when humidity and air pressure align exactly right, the capsule at the stalk's tip will explode with enough force to launch thousands of spores across a 3-foot radius. Each microscopic projectile carries the complete genetic instructions for this entire cycle of manipulation. Most will find nothing but leaf litter and bark, but a few, just a few, will settle onto the bodies of ants, following the familiar trails below, beginning the ancient cycle anew with the patience of deep time. The precision haunts researchers who study these biological puppets under laboratory lights. The fungus doesn't just control behavior randomly. It authors it, directs it, produces it like a master filmmaker crafting the perfect death scene. Every aspect of the ant's final performance serves the fungus's reproductive strategy with an intelligence that transcends simple chemistry. In sterile laboratories, scientists dissect zombie ants with something approaching reverence. They find neurotransmitters that exist nowhere else in nature, alkaloids evolved specifically for the manipulation of insect minds. The fungus has become evolution's master pharmacist, crafting compounds more sophisticated than anything in human medicine. Some of these molecules show promise as natural insecticides. Others offer insights into how chemical signals influence behavior across species boundaries. The zombie ant, in its perfectly orchestrated death, may be teaching us about the very nature of consciousness itself. Yet something ineffable remains in this process that resists scientific reduction. There is artistry in the infected ant's final journey that speaks to intelligence beyond mere molecular programming. The precision of placement, the timing of events, the choreography of control, it has the quality of ritual, of ceremony, as if the ant were participating in something sacred rather than simply succumbing to biological manipulation. You rise from beside the fungal stalk, brushing spores from your clothes with new understanding of their potential. Around you, the humid air carries thousands of these microscopic architects of influence, each one a seed of transformation waiting for the right moment, the right host, the right opportunity to rewrite another creature's story. This is not the crude domination of predator over prey. This is something more profound, the complete editing of reality itself, the transformation of independence into servitude, so gradual, so gentle, that the victim becomes a willing collaborator in its own magnificent destruction. In the perpetual twilight of the rainforest, 10,000 similar dramas unfold simultaneously, each one a testament to life's extraordinary creativity, to the beautiful and terrible lengths evolution will traverse in pursuit of continuation. The puppet masters work their ancient magic while their marionettes dance toward destinations they never chose, in service of purposes they cannot comprehend. The forest watches with the patience of eons as spores drift on currents too gentle to feel, carrying with them the promise of stories yet to be written in the neural networks of creatures yet to be chosen. This is nature at its most sublime and terrifying, the art of influence perfected across millions of years into biological technologies that make human manipulation seem childishly crude by comparison. Above you, the canopy filters sunlight into green-gold patterns that shift like living kaleidoscopes. Below you, mycelial networks pulse with their own patient communications. And all around you, in the humid air that tastes of decay and renewal, float the microscopic architects of tomorrow's puppet shows. each spore a seed of influence in evolution's most extraordinary theater of control. Another way that fungi manipulate their victims unfolds not in the perpetual twilight of rainforests, but under the blazing summer sun of North American woodlands. Here, emergence becomes ecstasy, reproduction becomes madness, and death becomes a 17-year celebration of fungal triumph. The sound hits you first, a rhythmic buzzing that builds to a crescendo unlike anything else in nature, as millions of periodical cicadas emerge from their underground slumber. They have waited 17 years for this moment, synchronized by mechanisms science barely understands, rising from the earth in numbers that darken the sky. But not all emergences end as nature intended. Watch this cicada as it pulls itself from the soil, its nymphal shell splitting to reveal wings still soft and translucent. Everything appears normal in these first moments. The insect clings to a tree trunk, pumping fluid into its wing veins, preparing for its brief but glorious reproductive finale. Yet something has already gone wrong. Deep inside its body, an ancient enemy stirs. 3 weeks ago, while this cicada was still underground, feeding on tree roots in the darkness, a microscopic invader found its way inside. Mycelium cicadina, a fungus that has mastered the art of pharmaceutical manipulation, began its patient colonization. Unlike the surgical control we witnessed in the rainforest, this fungus employs a different strategy entirely: chemical warfare. The changes begin subtly. The cicada's behavior seems normal at first, joining the chorus of millions, seeking mates with the same desperate urgency that drives all periodical cicadas. But as days pass, something unthinkable starts to happen. The fungus has been busy transforming the cicada's internal chemistry. Where other organisms might produce toxins or simply consume their hosts, Mycelium takes a more sophisticated approach. It manufactures drugs, real pharmaceuticals that would be at home in any laboratory or pharmacy. The first compound it produces is cathinone, the same amphetamine found in hot plants, the same substance that drives human addiction and euphoria. The cicada's nervous system floods with this chemical stimulant, but the effect isn't what you might expect. Instead of hyperactivity, the drug creates a state of focused obsession, an overwhelming compulsion to mate that transcends even the normal desperation of these short-lived insects. But the fungus isn't finished with its chemical cocktail. In a feat of biochemical artistry that defies explanation, Mycelium begins producing psilocybin, the hallucinogenic compound from magic mushrooms. This makes it the only known organism outside of fungi to synthesize such psychoactive substances. The cicada's world transforms into something unimaginable, its perception altered by molecules that rewrite the very nature of reality. Under this pharmaceutical influence, the cicada's behavior becomes increasingly bizarre. It continues its mating calls with relentless intensity, but something else begins to happen. The fungus, working from within, starts to consume the cicada's reproductive organs. Slowly, methodically, it replaces the insect's abdomen with white, chalky fungal tissue. The cicada, drugged beyond comprehension, doesn't notice or doesn't care. Watch now as this chemical transformation reaches its horrifying climax. The cicada's entire posterior dissolves into a mass of white spores, its reproductive organs completely consumed and replaced by fungal tissue. Yet it continues to sing, to seek mates, to behave as if nothing has changed. This is where the fungus reveals its most diabolical strategy. The infected cicada doesn't simply die. Instead, it becomes a living dispenser of death, a flying salt shaker that scatters infectious spores with every movement. When it attempts to mate, which it does constantly under the influence of fungal amphetamines, its body literally comes apart, spreading spores across any partner unfortunate enough to engage with it. But the manipulation goes deeper still. Male cicadas, their minds twisted by psilocybin and cathinone, begin producing female mating calls. They flutter their wings in patterns meant to attract males. When other males approach, expecting to find mates, they encounter instead something that should not exist, a creature that is neither fully insect nor fully fungus, but something else entirely. The infected males embrace their confused suitors, and in that intimate contact, spores transfer from one body to another. The fungus has turned its host into both victim and victimizer, a biological Trojan horse that spreads infection through the very act its victims most desperately seek to perform. This grotesque parody of reproduction continues for days. The infected cicadas, their abdomens now completely hollow, continue their drug-fueled mating frenzies. They become advertisements for the fungus, white-tailed beacons of infection that other cicadas cannot resist approaching. Some researchers have taken to calling them zombies, but that term seems inadequate for what you witness here. These are not mindless automatons, but creatures whose desires have been chemically amplified and redirected. They want to mate more than any normal cicada has ever wanted anything, yet they have been robbed of the very organs that would make reproduction possible. The fungus has achieved something approaching perfect manipulation. It has kept the drive while removing the possibility of satisfaction, creating perpetual motion machines of desire and infection. As you observe this pharmaceutical puppet show, you begin to understand that you are witnessing something unprecedented in the natural world. This is not the surgical control of the ant fungus, which preserves exactly what it needs while overriding the rest. This is wholesale chemical rewriting of consciousness itself, a biological drug dealer that has learned to profit from addiction, desire, and the fundamental drives that motivate all living things. The infected cicadas will continue their hypersexual marathon until their bodies finally give out, usually within a week of the infection reaching its final stage. But the fungus has already won. Millions of spores have been dispersed across the woodland, settling into soil where they will wait. Some will produce a second stage of infection in annual cicadas, creating year-round reservoirs of fungal potential. But most will simply rest, dormant and patient, for the next 17 years. When the next generation of periodical cicadas emerges in 2041, the spores will be waiting. The cycle will begin anew, as it has for countless millennia, a biological drug ring that operates on geological timescales, turning one of nature's greatest synchronized events into its own reproductive celebration. In the fading summer light, you listen to the chorus of millions, knowing now that some of those voices belong to creatures that exist in a realm between life and death, between insect and fungus, between reproduction and destruction. Their songs carry across the woodland like the calls of the damned, beautiful and terrible, and utterly transformed by forces they cannot understand but are powerless to resist. And so you return, as all journeys through the unseen must, to the simple act of breathing. Each inhalation carries with it the invisible architects of influence, the microscopic choreographers of behavior, the patient weavers of biological destiny. In every breath, millions of spores drift past your awareness, some seeking new hosts, others simply riding the currents of chance toward destinations unknown. The puppet masters are everywhere now that you know how to see them. In the forest where ants climb toward their precisely calculated deaths. In the woodlands where cicadas sing their drug-induced arias of desire and dissolution. In laboratories where plastic dissolves under fungal persuasion. In soil where vast networks older than civilizations continue their work of connection and control. You have witnessed fungi rewrite the very concept of identity, transforming independent creatures into willing participants in dramas they never chose to join. You have seen them manufacture pharmaceuticals that would challenge any human chemist, create artworks of deception that fool the keenest eyes, and orchestrate behaviors so complex they blur the boundaries between biology and theater. What does it mean to carry this knowledge? To understand that autonomy itself might be an illusion, that the choices made by countless creatures around you may not be choices at all, but the expression of older wills, deeper purposes, more patient intelligences than we ever imagined. Perhaps it means recognizing that the web of influence extends beyond what we can see or measure, that the same forces capable of guiding an ant to its death grip or flooding a cicada's mind with hallucinogens operate on scales and through mechanisms we have only begun to comprehend. The mycelial networks that connect trees in chemical conversation may be teaching us something profound about cooperation and control, about the difference between domination and collaboration. In the growing darkness around you, fungi continue their ancient work. They decompose and create, connect and isolate, heal and manipulate. They are the Earth's master chemists and its most patient gardeners, its most sophisticated manipulators, and its most essential partners. They remind us that life itself is not a collection of separate actors competing for resources, but a vast collaborative performance where roles shift, identities blur, and the boundaries between self and other dissolve like morning mist. The songs of manipulated cicadas fade into the general chorus of evening. Somewhere in the soil below, fungal networks pulse with communications we cannot intercept. Spores drift on breezes too gentle to feel, carrying with them the promise of stories yet to be told, performances yet to be staged, influences yet to be revealed. You breathe them in, these microscopic possibilities, and wonder, in this vast network of biological influence and chemical persuasion, in this ancient web of manipulation and partnership, what role do you play? Are you observer or participant, audience or actor in fungi's greatest theater? The forest offers no answer, only the whisper of wind through leaves and the patient pulse of hidden networks, working their invisible magic in the darkness, weaving tomorrow's mysteries from today's fallen wood, creating beauty and terror and wonder from the simple alchemy of decay and renewal. The puppet masters have been here longer than memory. They will remain long after we are gone. And in their patient work, in their endless creativity, in their capacity to transform the impossible into the inevitable, they offer us a glimpse of life's most fundamental truth, that influence flows in directions we never suspect, through channels we never see, connecting all living things in ways that are both more beautiful and more terrifying than we ever dared imagine.